Welcome. My name is David. It is my time at the host seat. My brother Christian has welcomed me back. I was kind of like on a hiatus because I had some family things to take care of. I had to take care of the family a little bit, and my time was taken away from something that I love to do so much, which is to host this show. And this show is the Most High Show, all right? And this is a platform where real people tell real stories about real life. And the person that has graced us with his seat in the virtual seat of service is my man Narcan Nate from San Diego. And we'll be talking to him soon, right after the intro. Jeff.
Welcome to the Most High Show, a show about recovery, spirituality, and all that. Produced, posted, and hosted by people in recovery who have strength and hope and want to share it with you. If you or someone you love is suffering, we want you to know you are not alone. This is the Most High Show.
Why Most High Media? Because I don't have the answer.
Me, man, I'm back. It's new. We're trying to work the things out, but welcome back. So what we usually do at this time, we have a couple things. Sometimes we have a recovery rundown, and sometimes we have a thing that we call our mystic moment. And to share with us, to share the mystic moment with us is my brother, the mystic man himself, Reverend Christian Jansen. What's up, man?
Nice. The Mystic Man. I like that.
You like that, the Mystic
Yeah.
Man?
I felt like I should have had a longer beard.
Yeah. Well, and Christian's going to give us a topic right now that I have no idea what he's going to talk about. Okay. So here we go.
All right. So this is a theory I have.
Okay.
So the theory is that essentially in the 12-step programs, right, they do this thing called a chip system.
Okay.
Okay. So my theory is that the chips are designed to treat the ego.
Okay.
And let me break it down for you.
Let me hear it. All right.
So you get the first chip for doing nothing.
Yep.
Here's the
showing up.
Just showing up.
I'm here, baby.
Yeah. Requires nothing. Just yes.
Yeah.
All right. So then your ego hears that clap and goes, okay, I did something. So now we can't let too long go before we give that ego a boost again.
Yes.
So we give in 30 days. We got to give props to the ego again. Here's your 30-day chip. Clap,
Different
clap,
color.
clap, clap. Different color. Everyone's so happy. 30 days of being less of an asshole than you were before. Okay. But now again, we can't let depending on where you're at, right? The next one's in 30. The next one. Right. So this goes on, right?
Yes.
90 days, 6 months, 9 months till you get to the year. Now by the time you get to the year, you don't get another chip for a year. Because by the time you get to a year, we're hoping that the ego is enough in check that we don't need to keep congratulating you on being sober.
But you will say something. When you get that year, you're going to stand up and you're going to talk. They're going to expect something.
Yes.
That's a little ego.
So that's my theory, is that the chip system is all about treating the ego. Because and it's just 12-step kind of, fellowshipping, right? The spirit is the thing that we're nurturing back to life.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Right. It is. So you are you looking for my take on this
Yes, because I'm taking another level. But what's your take so far on that?
So a lot of it, I agree that it's definitely an ego-filling moment when you're asked to come up and grab your chip. Okay. And I have, we've talked about that. We have mixed feelings about that process, right? But I think it is necessary and early recovery for your ego to be filled, to be honest with you. I mean, it's all, they talk about the pink cloud time of recovery, but I think that it's necessary. It's about when you're going into that to not get lost in the cloud and just like all of a sudden drop out of the sky when what I would think reality is hits you in the mouth.
Like, what does that mean?
Like you're riding so high on your ego for so long, right? Everybody's cheering you. You're doing good. You got like, you have these good feelings. Everything is good. Everybody's patting you. You got a sponsor. Your sponsor's spitting these things. You go through the first, 3 steps, right? And it's all, and those are kind of like ego filling steps.
Yeah.
I'm surrendering. I'm giving it to the Lord, and the Lord is working great in my life, And then, that I think that process makes the 4th step kind of more than what it is, kind of. It's a difficult step, right? It's a step, man. It's an action step. But it's almost like reality is in
now sets in
difficulty, life on life terms. You're become a part of the, you're just a part of the group now. You're into that year. You're
right.
You're like another chair. And that's hard to deal with sometimes, all that. But go ahead.
Yeah.
That's kind of like my outlining perspective of that process.
So, but you're agreeing that it's something to do with
the ego.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And so then, what's also interesting to me is, there's a lot of social media recovery folks. Which is great, right? Because we're a part of that.
We are that.
We're in that.
We are. Most High is that.
Yes. So, and that's great. Like people recovering out loud, talking about their sobriety journey,
sharing
that process,
that vulnerability,
sharing, and that's good.
Right.
What I noticed though is a lot of people just post random days and congratulate themselves for random days of sobriety,
with the minutes and like the seconds.
Right. Which is interesting to me because when I see
not
that,
judging, man, not judging.
Whatever gets you through it.
Yes.
Please don't misconstrue what I'm saying as judgment.
Right.
This is conversation.
Absolutely.
Okay. But to me, when I see that, I think, oh, they needed a little boost. They needed to be reminded from their virtual recovery family that they're still doing a good job. That's what I see when I see that.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think, again.
Okay, so you're on record as you agree.
What? That I agree that's the reason, that is a reason why they need the comfort of knowing people are paying attention to their recovery. They need that boost of oh man, maybe somebody shoots in the because you dig on the comments on a post like that. You're digging the comments. You're going to read them. You're going to read the feedback.
Yeah.
And it's
a lot of positivity. Congratulations.
Yeah, maybe some depth.
And we congratulate too.
Sure.
Right. I'm not hating on that. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're getting that kind of the thing though.
I feel like you're setting me up.
Well, this is the thing, though.
All right.
This is the flip side of it, right? When you try to change the ego with the help of your ego, you end up with a better disguised ego. Right.
I understand. I think I understand what you're saying.
You're tricking the wisdom with the system that imprisoned my son. And a little Nas for you. You know what I'm saying? See, like there's little things that we do, either culturally or collectively, right? So there's like a subculture in recovery, and then there's a subculture in that, which is the step culture. And so we make these decisions culturally and say, this is the way we do things. But I don't think we always understand or think, what's the unintended message that we're sending with these kind of things? Because, it's not about death to the ego, but it's about right sizing the ego. Again, this is my commentary. Okay.
Right.
Again, I
get it.
I'm not speaking on behalf of any organization or anybody. I'm just saying it's about right sizing the ego so the ego has its right place in our life.
Right.
And when we're constantly kind of trying to feed our recovery and our spiritual growth, which I equate recovery to spiritual growth. I don't. Sobriety and recovery
it's
are
a parallel, yeah.
Yeah, that's two different things.
Right.
You be sober, congratulations. But if you're in recovery,
It's a spiritual.
I'm assuming there's some sort of spiritual growth, whatever you define that as.
Right.
So the unintended consequence is you're trying to change the ego with the help of the ego, and then you end up becoming with a better disguised ego.
And you know what? I think that is something, I agree with that, right? I think that's where you see the importance of the fellowship, right? You see the importance of a sponsor through this process, because I was talking about, you know, you being so high, your ego being filled so high, and then it drops drastically when it's time for you to do some work.
Right.
Because you get faced with like real life on life things, okay? So that up to down is usually, you know, an exit. It could definitely be an exit out, right?
Yeah.
So the structure of it, though, is prepared to bring that ego, in my opinion, the structure is prepared to bring that ego to a place where you almost like get rid of it through the process of going through the steps.
Right.
Because as the steps go by, your ego should be replaced with humility.
Right. And if you're not going through it in the steps, right, if you're going through, say, more of a cognitive behavioral based therapy or smart recovery or something other than the steps, right? Because
Right.
there's many models, right?
Yeah.
But I think the same thing kind of happens,
Definitely.
which is in the adjustment in the size of the ego.
Right.
So that, because, you know, I think there's some things that are really resonate that are true in the 12-step literature, you know, which is like selfishness and self-seeking were the root of our problems. Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think that's a characteristic that's
a
common.
human thing. It's a fleshly thing.
You ain't got to be getting high.
No.
And full on addicted.
Absolutely
For you to
not.
be ruining people's life with your selfishness.
Yes.
So a spiritual journey is about right-sizing that ego.
Yep. I agree with that 100%.
Because you still need the ego. And I break all this down in my new book. No.
No, it is essential to have the ego, because this is so funny, because I was just talking to somebody that just like said this like flippantly. He was like, "Oh, who was I was listening to it. Well, I wasn't in conversation. I was listening to it, and he was saying people that like do service work, right? It's like such an ego filling thing, and the whole time your ego is filled through your humility. You open the door for somebody, right? You open the door. Oh, you know, God made this happen. You know what I mean? Oh, you know, you go first. You know, being that graceful and like that humble, it's like, oh, look at it just from a little bit of a different lens, and you're seeing this dude through his humility is really filling his ego, like the cup is overflowing, because he's thinking in his head, oh yeah, they're gonna notice how nice I am. They're gonna see how polite I am, how great my service. Oh, he's always doing something for somebody, man. So that's filling the ego as well. So it has to be a spiritual journey. It has to be God working through you, and it's not like
whatever
always
you
like
define, whatever that God is,
whatever that
self,
God is,
whatever
that is, that higher, whatever that takes where you give it to somebody else, something higher than yourself, sincerely.
Yeah.
That's where, and like only you and your higher power really know the consistency of your sincerity.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I like that. The consistency of your sincerity.
Because it's an up and down thing, bro. Like we just talked about the other, man. Sometimes I pray to God for things, man, and man, I don't be meaning that stuff, man. But sometimes I do.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the more I do, the better off things are.
All right. So I want to end
that was a dope
this
topic.
segment. Thank you. I want to end this segment with a quote from my guru.
All right.
Yeshua of Nazareth. He says, "Do not let the left hand know what the right hand's doing."
That's a topic right there in itself.
Right. Don't let the left hand know what the right hand's doing, because that's what you're talking about this, like, it's about right sizing the ego. Right. Don't let the left hand know what the right hand.
Can I go another 30 seconds on this topic? real quick?
I don't want Nate to hold too long.
All right, no.
Because he's about.
Because that thing, I mean, like, you know, and I think this platforms like this that talk about recovery, right? The people that are doing it and the people that are showcasing what needs to be done in recovery and are vulnerable enough to share their story, like my man Narcan Nate's about to do here in a minute, and share what they do. It's a fine line, man. Like, this is a new age, and I think through the rooms there is a lot of pushback, and I believe that's one of the main reason. Like, the word anonymity is so, like,
right.
You know, but I think it needs to be. I think the stories need to be shared.
Yeah.
From a sincere place, and from a sincere, like, act of service.
Yeah.
My friends.
Yeah.
Thank you, my man.
All right.
So right now, we're going to cut off into another advertisement. Which one is this? Can you tell me which one this is?
This is the commercial break.
Oh yeah, but which what are we showing?
It's just a block, so we're showing multiple.
Oh, okay, cool. You're going to see a rundown of what what Most High Media does. It's going to be awesome. Tune in, and then when we come back, I'm rocking with my man from San Diego, Narcan Nate, in a minute.
Why Most High Media? Because I don't have the answers. Other people do. And learning from the experiences, the stories, the perspectives, seeing people who've been through the darkest of circumstances and then have come out of it on the other side and have lived extremely exciting, fulfilling lives and tapped into a way of being and a way of living, but is actually real and obtainable, that's why.
We packed up to tell the story of a young lady who lost her daughter.
So there's a extremely high correlation between suicide, mental illness, and substance abuse.
Come on the ground. Come on the ground. Sir.
I think as of this year, there's about 14 million people in America who have a co-occurring disorder, and a little more than 7% of them seek help for it.
You know, in my addiction, I felt like I was better off dead.
I'm here to talk about my daughter, Megan, who committed suicide when she was 28.
There's enough hope in the people that do recover to where I keep going and keep showing up at places where I'm needed.
Ain't no high like the most high. Ain't no high. Ain't no high like the most high. Ain't no high. Holla if you need some things like love and change. I'm not talking coins and things or diamond rings. Everybody wants some change, but don't nobody wanna do nothing till the pain they can't stomach. And they told me that I believed them, so I gave them to the. Everybody thought that I was tripping, saying that I be acting different. Ain't no high like the most high. Ain't no high like the most high. Ain't no high like the most high. Ain't no high. Ain't no high like the most high.
Welcome back, folks. All right, now we're about to get this show started, but I want you to know that if you watched a commercial break, you got to see documentaries. You got to see clips of why we watch this show, why this show is relevant and important, and you got to see the merch and the link to get the merch, get these crown hats and those Most High shirts, man. And all that money goes to keeping all this stuff going and keeps service going and keeps a lot of stuff that we do for the recovery community going. All right. So that being said, all right, now, one of the things I love to do, I love to sit down with people that I'm familiar with and people that I know, and I get to know a little bit more about them when I interview people that I come across with in recovery, and like I know a little bit about them and I learn more. But another thing that I love to do that is a blessing to me is to be able to, through today's technology, talk to somebody from on the other coast doing some stuff that has everything to do with being a man of service and helping out. And today, the person filling that virtual decadent seat of service is my man, Narcan Nate. Welcome, brother. Welcome to the show. Welcome to this. Let's give him some of this. Let's give him some of this right here, guys. Come on. Jeff, let me see. All right. Welcome, man. What's going on, bro?
Nothing much, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, bro.
Oh, absolutely, man. What's going on in San Diego?
Well, it's been raining today, bro. It's been like, weather's been off. It's like cloudy, overcast, not normal San Diego weather. So
yeah, because it never rains.
Showers.
It never rains in Southern California, right?
I mean, it does rain. Like we get rainy days, but like we're spoiled out here, man. That's why we pay such high like rent stuff. You know, we're spoiled with the weather.
No doubt.
But it's been a good day, man.
But again, man, welcome to the show. All right, now, what we usually do here is we go through, you know, whatever you want to share of your life and like what you've been through, you know. But what we like to do is start it off with what is present day Nate's life like?
Yeah, bro. So my day starts at like about 5 a.m. I get up, go have some coffee, and I go provide community showers from a mobile shower trailer. I hand out Narcan there and hygiene products. I also give out fentanyl test strips and clean the showers, whatever needs to be done. Then when I'm done there, bro, this week alone, outside of doing showers 4 days a week, I've done 5 Narcan trainings for a treatment center. So I trained this treatment center is like everybody in their staff, their clinicians, the therapists, the counselors, people working in the office, things like that. So I got them all squared away on like how to respond to an opioid overdose. I'm taking the Narcan over there tomorrow and dropping it off. And then everybody there that requested, they're going to get their own like personal kits of Narcan for their car, their house, or whatever. So that, I also, you know, people reach out to me from all over because of social media, bro. I'm like, oh, how do I get Narcan? How do I get this and that? So right now what I'm doing, with the help of a friend, I'm taking like where there's these programs, either they offer like, you know, services for like harm reduction, or they offer Narcan, or they have like access to the Bridge program. I'm going to put this in a file. And so if people ask me, I can just drop you a file and you can go through your state and see where these services are at and like locate how to, you know, without people having to get in touch, man.
Would you mind? I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Could you explain the Bridge program? I've never heard of that.
So the Bridge program is essentially like only certain hospitals have it, but you go in if it's for like substance use, they connect you to a plethora of resources for you, like treatment centers or MAT, or, you know, like things like that. So yeah, and so we're working on putting that info in there. I'm also in the works of setting up a Narcan distribution like kind of system in Southern California. And so what that's gonna look like, bro, is I'm gonna get, so I in California, so I have access, I have the knowledge to help people who qualify obtain Narcan in massive quantities. And so I want to get all these organizations that have this access to come together. And we not only can we provide Narcan for our communities and have a plentiful supply, but we can also mail it out to people who reach out to us, you know, so we don't have to like, oh, go do this, go do that. Cause the age that we live in now, people want things like right now, like, you know what I mean? They don't want to go look and do this or that. Just be like, okay, like here's how it works. Boom. I'll mail it to you tomorrow.
Right. And is your area, is it like you're talking about mailing to people? Is it like in California or is it beyond?
No, all over the US. Yeah.
Well, you know, you saying that there's probably going to be a connection beyond this show with us and you. So, you know what I mean? That's really cool what you're doing, man. Now, how long? So you do the showers too. Now, is that like, is that all you? Like, did you like buy like a mobile shower unit to help homeless people and addicts get with their personal hygiene?
No, I didn't start community showers, bro.
Okay.
My friend Jordan started it, and and like kind of how I got involved was I was kind of going through like a crisis, bro. I was like, man, what am I doing with my life? Like, where's this gonna go? I'm not happy with my job, and it was just one of those things. It was like I never knew what I was supposed to do. I had never found like my purpose, so to speak. And so I did what I do when I want to get something done. Like I just start making phone calls and sending emails. And then I connected with this lady who runs like a kind of like a, she takes people in off the streets, bro, and puts them in like a hotel with a voucher where she has a house. And I did a training for her, and they were like, oh, they want you to come to Humanity Showers and distribute Narcan. I was like, oh, okay. So I show up. I just got off work. I showed up, had to get up at like 5 a.m, showed up there, and then we met, we linked, and we just clicked. And then like ever since then, it's just like I'm just there. Like I just show up, and Jordan just gives me some responsibility. I show up and just do what needs to be done.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, I think that is, you're saving lives, bro. That's a life-saving tool, you know, like Narcan distribution is, and just to help guys with their hygiene, get somebody clean, get their day started in, you know, other than just like, you know, not taking care of their hygiene and giving them those life-saving tools that, you know, a thing that we say here is, you know, we can't help you if you're dead. You know
absolutely. You can't recover if you're dead.
You can't recover.
You can't go. You can't go
know?
to treatment if you're dead. You can't recover if you're dead. You can't do. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And then another thing, you know, for me personally, like the distribution of Narcan, especially, you know, to places that, you know, like, you know, if it's like fire companies, like people, first responders, other addicts, you know, people that could actually use those when somebody is in the area of like where, you know, ODs happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, with fentanyl out and all that kind of stuff that kills you so quickly. And they're so like, man, like, you know, I was just telling Christian, man, like, you know, my sister died of it, Narcan, of a fentanyl overdose. You know what I mean? So the process of getting and distributing Narcan to addicts is a life-saving thing. And I thank you for that, bro. That is just awesome what you're doing over there in Cali. Now, that being said, right, somebody that's going out, and I know you had like, you know, you had this, you know, self-talk to yourself, like, why, what am I supposed to be doing? You know, what's my purpose here, right? And usually I would imagine, right, you know, somebody who's compassionate about getting addicts clean, helping them, period, getting Narcan out, and like that being your livelihood usually comes from something. So I'd like to go back to where like you can really relate to that side of the ball field. You know what I mean? Like tell us whatever you want to share about your journey through addiction.
Yeah. So in regards to the Narcan distribution and all the work I do with that. So there's been a couple experiences. And so one was I was 19, and it was back when like M Block 30s were like the real M Block 30s, you know, and when Opanas came out. And so the Opanas came out, they were extended release, right? But I didn't know that. And so I'm taking them and I'm just not getting high. So I eat a bunch of them. And like the next thing I know, I get like that, like when you know you've done too much, like you just know. Like it's like you just know something bad's about to happen, and I fall out, and like I like my knees buckle. I'm crawling up the driveway. I'm like going in and out of like consciousness, and the next thing I know, I wake up 26 hours later, and I have no idea what just happened. Like I don't know what happened, and so my family didn't know what to do. They didn't even call 911, bro. Like swear to God, I don't know why they didn't call 911. And so I don't know if it was the stigma, if it was who my dad was within the community, because my dad's a police officer, right? In a small town, I'm dealing drugs, right? I'm selling drugs. My truck and my safe in the house is full of drugs. I have a stolen gun on me. You know what I mean? So yeah. So I've never had this discussion with them, to be honest with you, like why they didn't call 911. But they just didn't, you know. And somehow
I've heard of that a lot.
Yeah,
I've heard of that a lot. They don't. I don't know, for whatever reason. I mean, a lot of things probably come to mind on why they wouldn't call 911, like job status, neighbors, all that kind of stuff comes into mind. You know what I mean? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But that's not like very uncommon that, you know, the proper life-saving people that come and save your life don't show up to like drug overdoses. You know what I mean? But like, so what I would like to do, you know, and thank you for explaining that. I'd like to go back though. Like, where does addiction enter and start in your life? You know what I mean?
Addiction, man. So I think honestly, it started with like self-harm, bro. Like trying to escape like my reality. And so, my parents divorced when I was around 5, and my dad was drinking himself. I mean, just drinking, bro. And, just never, I mean, he was working 2 jobs to raise us. My mom wasn't in the picture, and he was like, he was drinking so much, bro. And this is not to like shame my dad or anything like that, because we're close now, but this is just the reality of what my life was like. But he was drinking so much, bro. He was like pissing himself in his bed, and his bed took shape to his body. That's how much he was drinking.
Wow.
But thank God he don't drink. He don't drink like that no more. Thank God.
Yeah.
And so then that happened, and then my mom ended up kidnapping my brother and myself, and like after that whole situation, like she like brainwashed us, bro. Told us my dad was gonna do this and that to us, and like put marks on my brother, and she told us to tell Department of Children's Services that my dad did this to my brother.
Oh, wow.
And all this stuff. And I remember being in this room, bro, in this real tiny room that we were hiding from the police, because the police showed up to the house, and it was a state trooper, right? And you could see, like, you know how they have those very like noticeable hats, you know, they're circular.
Yeah.
And they got so they were like making us hide, bro. And I remember peeking through the window, and I could see him walk in the house. And so they had us convinced we were doing the right thing, bro. And then she gets arrested. And then I just realized, like, bro, my mom, like, I realized what happened. And it was like, my mom just did this to me. And so they try to put a child in therapy. I'm like 6 years old. They try to put me in how does a child even cope with this? How does a child even, like, I couldn't even, like,
there's no comprehension.
Yeah, but there's really in reality no comprehension. I couldn't comprehend what I was supposed to talk about or feel or any of this stuff. And then then the trust issues happen, you know what I mean? And all these stuff underlying. I didn't feel like I was good enough. I didn't feel like I was worthy enough. I was insecure. You know what I mean? So all these things, all that stuff developed after that, and it just kept growing and growing, you know? And I think, like, I hated existence as a kid. Like, I didn't understand why I was here. I hated God. I thought I didn't understand, like, why all this bad stuff happened to me while I was a child. Cause I was raised in church. And I'm like, you know, Jesus, all this stuff, you know? And like, and I was like, but I'm a child. Like, I'm like, why? Like, I didn't
like in the meantime, like all these horrific things are happening to you when you don't even know what's really going on. So you're, you know, how else do you react to that? You don't have any guidance on right or wrong. You're just seeing one catastrophe after another from both sides of the fence. You know what I mean? So I'm sorry, keep going. That's heavy.
Yeah. Man. And so, you know, things, my mom, my mom gets arrested pretty much. And, she does a little time. She's still coming around, and, she wasn't supposed to be within like 1,000 people.
Where are you? Where are you?
I'm in Tennessee right now. We got took to Kentucky, and to some random holler in Kentucky, into a small coal mining town. Yeah. And real small coal mining town. And so she gets caught. She goes to jail. We go back with my dad. Yeah. They try to put me in therapy in like 2nd grade. Yeah. I don't even know what to talk about. You know what I mean? Like, what do you want from me? You know, and I'm just off, man. I'm just like, I think something's wrong with me. I think I'm different. Like, I notice something's different. And then, like, with all that pain, man, I can remember being a kid and going to the dentist, and they're like, I was biting my tongue is what I was doing. Just like, but I was leaving scars and stuff on my tongue. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes.
And then it just progresses, and then I get into high school, bro. I mean, so life goes on. My dad remarries, but, you know, I'm like real quiet. Like, I'm isolating all the time as a teenager. You know, like, I just don't want to be around nobody. If I'm not in school, like, I'm running the streets, like skateboarding and stuff like that, doing a bunch of dumb stuff. And well, my first drink was I was 15. I drank like 16 natural lights. I puked profusely and was like, I don't want to do this again. You know what I mean? It wasn't like my moment. Like, I've arrived. You know. And then the next year, man, I start smoking weed, and then I start smoking weed every day. I start drinking every day. And so, like, at this point,
but you're kind of isolating, but it sounds like you might have a little crew. You got some homies, right?
So if I'm like, I'll run with the homies, but if I'm home, I'm isolating. You know what I mean? Because like, home never felt like home. You know what I mean? Like,
man, that's big.
Home was never home. Like, I never felt, as a kid, man, I never felt safe. Like, I was always on edge. Like, everything I did. So I developed like like OCD, but like my OCD patterns was like to protect myself. You know what I mean? Like I'm always like double checking stuff. I'm always looking over my shoulder.
Looking
Like
over
I'm
your shoulder,
always just, yeah, I'm always just like protecting myself, like waiting for that perpetual shoe to drop. You know what I mean? And like when's the next bad thing gonna happen? Like I'm always on edge. I'm always anxious. You know what I mean? Like I just waiting for the bad stuff to happen. You know, and I really was. I had a negative outlook on life because I was like, when's the bad stuff gonna happen? It was never, well, all this good's happening, but when's the bad gonna happen?
Right.
And
you're always waiting for something to fall, like you said. You know, it's almost like, you know, when things get good, it's almost like it raises your anxiety because you know something monumentally bad is about to happen. That's the anxiety of the whole thing.
Yeah,
that's heavy, man. That's real heavy, man. So you're cruising around, you're skateboarding, you're smoking, drinking with your boys. You see, looking back on it, that like, you know, you're isolating in certain aspects of your life, but in your expression, there's probably like, you know, like anger, frustration, you know, ignorance, like all that kind of stuff as you're like living your life, you know, at that young age. You know what I mean? So does it start to progress and get more deeper into like, you know, addiction? Like, are you becoming dependent on these things to get by?
I would say that it did. Like, honestly, when I graduated high school, it went down. And but here's the thing, man. Here's the kicker. I didn't enjoy smoking weed, right? I didn't enjoy smoking it, but when I wasn't smoking it, I was looking forward to the next time I could smoke it, just because it would change how I feel.
Oh,
you know what I mean? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a heavy perspective, dude. It's like, even though this ain't my thing, but it's better than not having it. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
You want to do it, even though it ain't your twist. Yeah,
exactly. And so I graduated high school. I had like a 2.9 GPA. I got accepted into college, and so I'm thinking like, do I go to college and flunk out? Because I know what I'm going to do. I'm gonna party. I'm like, so, and my buddy's like, my homie's like, oh, let's go. I'm like, nah, you go. So he flunks out. I stay home. And around senior year, I start like dabbling in like selling drugs. You know, I learned the trade. I know how to take some cash bowls and roll it up with a little bit of flour and sell it for a joint. You know what I mean? Rip people off. So I start learning, you know what I mean? And so I start selling,
getting your hustle on.
Stuff. Yeah, I'm like, oh, this, and then so into high school, like I really start hustling. So I'm like working at a gas station selling weed, and then some of me and the homies are selling weed together, and then like it really takes off. And so I meet this guy, and he's like, oh, why don't you put some coke for me? Why don't you put some pills for me and some meth and Suboxone? And then I'm just like doing all these things.
You're just introduced to that whole array of different narcotics, hardcore stuff.
Just right in the middle of it, man. Like watching people like get guns put in their mouth for stealing shit. You know what I mean? And like the whole, like the real deal. Like,
this is in Kentucky or Tennessee?
Oh, this is in Tennessee. Yeah, so I live on the Tennessee-Kentucky border right there. So so we, you know, back and forth. But yeah,
I heard the hoods out there are real. Out there.
I didn't grow up in the hood, man. So I grew up in a real small town.
Oh, okay.
But I will tell you that everybody has a gun. We can just like everybody has a gun. So it's just like, you're not gonna be like full of guns. Like everybody has a gun. Like people drive around with rifles in their back window.
Oh, okay. I see. Now the scenery's a little clear. Okay. I see where you're at. All right, I got you.
Yeah. And so yeah, man. And so we're selling, man, and like we're making good money, man. And so that was like my thing. I was like, yo, this money is crazy because you got power, you got money, you got women.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, it made me feel like somebody. It made me feel like somebody I never felt like before.
Some status.
So it gave me status. I felt worthy. I felt like confident. I had like all those things I never had, like I had.
Yeah.
And then I had this little girl I was seeing, and we were like going to concerts. We were doing all kinds of things. I was blowing money like crazy. But I wasn't real flashy. Like I just kept it like low key because I was just smart, put it that way.
Yeah.
And one night, me and this girl break up. So this is where it takes off. Me and this girl break up. I go to pick up some like coke and some weed and some pills from this dude. And he's like, oh, you need to liven up. So he takes a Roxy 30, puts it on the counter and busts it. And I do half of it. And within like 2 minutes, I'm like, I need to feel this way for the rest of my life.
Dude,
like,
I'm telling you.
I have never felt so good in my life. And that's exactly like, that's the route I took. Like, it was like there was no turning back. Like I was immediately hooked. Like my brain just hit a switch.
Dude, I'm telling you, same.
Yeah.
The things about that, I mean, I was just amazed. Honestly, I was amazed by that. And, you know, the funny thing about, and it's another thing my brother Christian says, is the funny thing about drugs is that they work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They see, that's the thing, man. That's what they don't tell you, man. That's they work. Yeah.
That's real. You know what I mean? So now you're off and running with opiates.
Yeah. Oh man, I felt so. Check this out. I felt so good. I'm driving up this valley, so it's called Hell's Point. So it's like real curvy up and down the mountain, and I feel so good. And mind you, I have a toolbox full of dope, and a pistol under my seat.
Jeez.
And so there's this tree hanging down from the road, right? And I'm like, oh shit, that's dangerous. I see a cop sitting at this place called Jerry's Market. I pull in there and tell him that this tree is hanging into the road and somebody could hit it. That's how good I felt. That's how confident I was. Like, that was the dumbest thing I could have done. You know what I mean? But I just
unstoppable. You're unstoppable.
Yeah, unstoppable. Yeah. And but yeah, man, that's when it took off. And I can remember, like, when I got back into town where I was living, I was meeting this guy and I sold him like a couple of 30s, and he was like, man, you don't want to be doing this. I was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. That was like an omen, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I was like, man, that won't be me. I ain't gonna be like this guy. And sure enough was. Sure enough was, man. And it just progressed like downhill, man. Not making no money.
You're you're getting sick.
You're withdrawing. Getting dope sick. I remember the first time I was dope sick, like I had my friend go pick up for me down the street, man. And, you know, getting exposed to things, like just being in bad situations, like having no part in something, but just being in bad situations, man, where like a lot of like horrible things could happen. Like my life could have completely turned around. You know what I mean? Like I would have like had no choice but to do things that like I didn't want to do. You know what I mean? And
how quick does that turn though? You go from like having this feeling like, hey, you know what? Finally, I'm freaking somebody out here. You know, you get to feel that swagger a little bit, and then like almost in a blink of an eye, you're like doing whatever it takes to feed this like undying freaking habit. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, yeah. It was like, I think the first time I noticed I was dope sick was like maybe a month or so in it, man. And it was just like downhill. And like, I think deep down I knew that like this was bad, but I was just like, it felt so good that I just didn't care, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I just was just like living in the moment, to be honest with you, like just didn't care. And honestly, like once I started using, like I did not care about myself at all, man. And I definitely didn't care about you. You know what I mean? And just like, it was like all that anger I had inside of me just like came out. Like I hated everybody. I hated me. I hated you. You know what I mean? I was the biggest asshole that I knew. Like, I'm serious. Like, I'm serious. Like, if people like, I can remember people would be like trying to pass cars on like a 2-lane road. And if I thought you were doing it too close, I would speed up and try to run you off the road. You know what I mean? Like like I just didn't care for anybody.
I think that's like, you know, I think that's another product of like, you know, your anger of like what the past was like, man. You know what I mean? I mean, it all adds up. It all goes to like now at that time in your life, you're not like this, you know, escape addict. You're like pissed off at the world, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what?
So like all that.
You go ahead. I'm sorry. Ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say so like all that stuff resurfaced, man. I was doing dumb stuff, man. Like chasing people down in my car. Like a few people pulled a gun on me and stuff like that. You know, just was just reckless, man. I just didn't care.
Chaos every day.
Yeah, every single day was chaos.
So what is the first thing that halted it? You know what I'm saying? Like, what was the first stop?
The first stop was when I was telling you the story about when I fell out at my family's house. So,
That's the first one?
Yeah, that was the first one. So apparently, I didn't know this, but apparently I agreed to like kick at my dad's house, right? And I didn't remember it. And so my dad shows up and is like, "Oh, you're coming with me." And mind you, my dad's like 6'5", about 280, and I'm about $110 right now. And I'm like, man, I don't know about this. I was like, yeah, I ain't gonna win this one. And so so
you go.
So I go. I was like, man, I ain't gonna win this one, not today. And so I go. And so this is what they do to me, right? They take my keys, they take my phone, they take all my money. And like the first 2 days I had off work. The third day they took my ass to work, dropped me off, and said, call me from the work phone when you're done working. They did not give a shit. So I had to cold turkey opiates, Xanax, and cocaine, and they did not. They was just like, it was. And then when I would be home, my dad would have me outside working in the garden. It was absolute, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't enough.
Yeah. Well, I was just talking, I forget who I was talking to, but we were talking about, like the need to work somebody through that part, you know what I mean? Get them, get them through that, like get them into a regiment, even, like, I mean, I'm not being like not compassionate to the symptoms of like what you're going through when you withdraw for that stuff, because it's vicious, right? But at the same time, like staying on top of it, getting some of that rigorous, like kind of like a sweated out attitude towards, like that part of your, sobriety, you know what I mean? Because it's not recovery yet. You're just trying to get, you're just getting right, you know what I mean? Not even, like willingly, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, well, when the symptoms go away, that's when the circus shows up, though, you know what I'm saying? I mean, for real, that's
what I tell people all the time. They just don't get it. They're like, oh, after the dope sickness is gone, you can go. No, bro, that's when the psychotic, crazy person that's sober is having to deal with life with it's a crazy man just with no drugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what my old sponsor used to tell me. I was kicking for like the upteenth time, man. I'm like, man, if I could just kick, everything be good. He was like, nah, like that's when the circus sets up, man. That's when the work starts. Like, it's
No doubt. So you OD that time, you go sweat it out at your pops, right? You get to work the third day. So do you go, does relapse happen fast during that process?
Bro. I honestly, like the way I looked at it was, I was like, I have no money. Like nobody is gonna front me anything. And like the guy that I worked with, that I would get high with, wouldn't give me anything, man. That's how bad off I was. He was like, no, bro, you need to chill. Because
you're a problem. At work, you got a problem.
They banned me from using a ladder at work. I could not use a ladder at work. They banned me from it. He was like, no, he wouldn't give me anything. And so I was like, well, why start this over and just have to be dope sick again? You know what I mean? So that was my thinking.
Right.
And so, I started drinking like maybe 6 months into it, and then started smoking a little weed. But I maintained for a minute and was like reasonably successful. And I'm talking like I was making good money. I had moved up and worked. They were like, what? They couldn't believe it. And doing some good things, man, and was maintaining. But really deep down, like it was hurting me to maintain, because I really, really wanted, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you never dealt with anything. You're still not dealing with anything. You know what I'm saying? It's all inside of you. There's no expression of like your life's stuff. You're just going through life, but you get like this second wind, of trying to get it right. And like, I don't know, like for dope fiends like me, I always thought of like, a case of beer and a quarter bag of weed is like, I'm rehabbing, dog. I'm trying to get it right. I'm trying to get it right, which is not. But that's you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I thought. She was like, "Oh, we're doing good, man. We're doing good, man." And then
I'm chilling.
And then I eventually I started this. This comes to play later. So I knew this lady. My dad knew her, and she let me rent on this house. So I'm like, my rent pays for me on this house. You see what I'm saying? And so that was going on. And then it was, when was it? Like probably 2000, late 2013. By now, maybe early 2014, I run into this guy at the pool hall, and he's got like a bunch of 30s, man. And I just bust one up, and I bust one up. The next day, I go to a company meeting, like the third quarter company meeting, and I pass out in the meeting. Right,
Wow.
we're like, yeah, I'm standing up and I just fall over because I did pills all night and hadn't even been to sleep yet. And
during this time, you're kind of like doing good. You're excelling in the company, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm with people from like Hawaii and all kinds of shit.
Right.
And so they like take me to the restroom. They get me out, like throw water on my face, and they're like, "Oh, what happened?" I'm like, "Man, it's really hot in here." and they buy it, and they were like, "Oh, it is pretty hot in here." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, man, it's pretty hot. I need some water." And so I skate by, and pull one on them, and oh man, and so
I don't know.
yeah, I sold it, man. We're good actors, man. And
absolutely.
And so it went on, man. And then it went downhill fast. And then I remember that I ended up getting promoted after, like, not too long after that. I ended up getting a promotion. But this new guy, I had a new boss eventually, and I was showing up late for work, bro. I was falling asleep in my truck sometimes, and he caught on to it. Like, he was with it.
But after that time you get those Roxys, it wasn't, so you're starting to use them more.
Oh, yeah.
You're back on it, basically.
Oh, absolutely. Every day.
Right. Okay.
And I'm selling again. I'm selling at work again. I'm doing I'm putting stuff in my gas tank, being like, hey, just pull up, send the gas tank, leave the money in the gas tank. You know what I mean? Or running out there, like, hey, come in, go to the bathroom. Like, I'll take care of you know what I mean? Just all this stuff, man. And
living two lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but my boss catches me one morning. I'm probably late for like who knows what time I'm late. And he asked me, he's like, man, like, are you okay? Like, because you're doing all this stuff, and it's like, this is not cool. Like, and he's like, so like, what are we going to do to fix this? And I was like, I'll tell you what, like, I'm going to resign right now, and we're going to fix this. And so I just resigned from the job, and just went full.
You just rolled out.
Yeah, I just rolled out and like I just sold drugs at this point. Like, I got a little front outside my house. I'm like cutting firewood and selling firewood to like cover up the traffic. You know what I mean? And just
damn, you sell a lot of firewood.
Yeah.
That boy's got a successful firewood business, man. Cars are lining up to see Nate.
And so I'm doing that, man. And then eventually I'm like, man, I can't keep doing it because it's expensive, man. And there's no heroin in my town, mind you. There's no heroin in this town. And and so I go and get in the Suboxone clinic. You know what I mean? I'm like, this will fix me. This will fix me. So I go to Suboxone clinic, man. It's so sketchy. I believe they ended up getting raided by like the DEA because they were just doing some crazy, you know what I mean?
There are hot spots for real. Yeah.
Yeah. Just, all kinds. It was just go in, you pay, you get your meds. Like, so I was maxed out, bro. So I was maxed out. I was getting high, selling drugs. You know what I mean? And then the first time I seen like a meet schedule, they made you go to a therapist, and I'm in therapy for like, substance use, and I just nod out and like start snoring in the middle of therapy. And she like, I come back to, and she's like, here, honey, you might need this. And it was a meeting schedule. And I walk out, I'm like, what is this? And I just, and so, I keep doing the deal, man. And then I ended up, one of my buddies that I was running drugs with, man, him and his brother ended up robbing me, man. And so I would, right after this is like right before the end of it, man, I'm living with my aunt, and I used to go, me and my buddy Opie used to go coon hunting. So she would be like, oh, I'm leaving the house. I got my gun with me. And she's like, oh, where are you going coon hunting? I'm like, nah, I'm going looking for so-and-so. So I was set on this road every night waiting for these boys to like come home, and I was going to just
robbed
shoot.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like, had a plan and everything, man. Like I literally told my aunt to her face that I was going looking for these guys, and like had my gun with me. Like that, like I was just derelict, like desolate, derelict, like no care for my life, anybody else's life at this point. Like, just did not care.
Yeah.
Like the consequences didn't mean nothing to me.
Right.
Yeah. Like And like right after that, like I never caught them out. Like the closest I ever got was that they parked their car down below my house, and I sat there and I sat there and I sat there, man. And like they did not show up. So I popped their tires on their car and all that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the crazy thing is the next day when I woke up, they were getting their car towed and my rifle's like right here. And I'm thinking, I wonder if I could hit them from right here in broad daylight, man. Was like dead serious about it. And I was like, damn,
man, dude.
Like looking back, like that's like
crazy
how much anger.
thinking.
That's like how much anger I had in my heart, and
like not caring. Like
I didn't
popping
care.
somebody like whatever.
Yeah,
it's whatever.
And not even that, but bringing all that drama and stuff to my aunt's house.
Oh man,
who's in a wheelchair, has polio. You know, yeah. It's bad. It's all bad juju, man.
Yeah.
And then. So I asked my aunt about, like, hey, can I like go to treatment? Can I do something? Because like this is out of hand. Like, and really, like, I just wanted. Well, I asked them first to pay for my Suboxone. I was like, hey, let me use the insurance to go get my script. And then they was like, no, we should probably do treatment. And so
so somebody was loving on you. Yeah, I was loving on you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like she loved me through the hardest point of my life, man. I mean, even there was even points where she told me she didn't know who I was anymore. Like she told me that to my face, and I remember that. And but she was there for me, man. And she went through a lot of sleepless nights, and so they take me to treatment. I get there, they do the deal, and like they ask me how much Suboxone I'm doing and all this, and how much like benzos, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like assessing you.
Yeah. So the intake guy pulls me outside away from my dad and everybody. And like, this is the real deal. He like looks me straight in my face. He was like, listen, bro, I'm going to tell you right now that this is really going to suck. He was like, you'd be better off to go shoot heroin for a month and come back. Like, that's how bad this is going to suck. And he told me that to my face, just to like give me an idea of like how bad this kick was going to be. Cause I told him like, bro, I've kicked before. Like,
what you got.
And and he was like, no, you don't understand. And so I was like, all right, like whatever. And I was like, I'll at least try. And so I get in there, they get me all meted up. And man, that was the worst detox I've ever had in my life. Like it was so bad. It lasted for so long. I wasn't sleeping. I was having delusions. And so, it was bad, man. And, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. You know what I mean? It still wasn't enough, man. And I put together like 16 months of time. I worked most of the steps. I worked most of the steps. You know, knew the deal. Go to meetings. You know, I knew I could talk. I could talk from the book and sound like I knew what I was talking about, but wasn't applying it to my life. You know what I mean? I could just sound real good at meetings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
put it out there. Sound like the man.
Yeah, I sound like I was
let that
really
ego's doing something right there.
Ego's
standing up.
I remember a few lines in the page number, and I think I really somebody. Yeah. And so I put like I quit. You know, it's the same thing you hear every time I quit going to meetings. I quit calling my sponsor. I quit talking to God. You know, whatever God looks like for you. And then I started getting loaded again. I got off work at like 6 a.m. I went to the store and bought some booze and started drinking. And then I felt really like, I can't tell you that feeling of like after you've like worked this program and then you go back out and it's like that is like the worst feeling I've ever had in my life, probably. And so go back out, tell my roommate, pick up a white chip that day. And it's just at that point, bro, it's in and out, 30, 60, 90, then maybe a week. I couldn't stop getting loaded, bro. And
but you know what? In my opinion, right? I think that process is a reality, but the life-saving grace of that process is that you made it to a meeting. You got to this place where you could take a couple lines, you know what the vibe is, you know what the process is, and then somewhere in there, there's something that hurts you when you relapse. You know what I mean? It's like relapses are real, man. You know what I'm saying? But when you have the structure of the steps, when you have a fellowship, you know, you got somewhere to go. You know what I mean? And like a lot of people in and out, not really even knowing what the steps mean, but still knowing I had somewhere to go, like did something to me to where like, you know, where one of them relapses, I stopped using. You know what I mean? Like when I went back, I stopped. So that's like, it's not go there and you're cured and it's all like work the steps and you wake up and you're 27 years sober. It's like, it's a process, dude. There's steps to getting to the steps. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And taking it seriously. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree, man. And so I had to go through that process, man. But I knew what to do. I just couldn't stop using, man. I just could not stop getting loaded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I would wake up and be like, I'm not gonna get loaded today, and I would get loaded. And but I didn't want to. And eventually it was like back to opiates, and be in and out. And one of the things that happened to me is, this is another reason that I do the Narcan thing right here. So I'm in a sober living, like 3 of us are getting high. And,
where is this? Where is this now?
This is in Maryville, Tennessee, right here.
Oh, you're still in Tennessee. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So we're all getting high, and it's March Madness is going on. Like right now, it was this time of year. March Madness is going on, and I go upstairs and I'm looking for my boy, and I get to the end of the kitchen, I peep around the corner, and this dude is down on the ground, his head like this, purplish blue. He just overdosed, man. And I was like, oh, what? And so I'm holding, I know he's got something on him, and there's no Narcan in the house that I know of. And they never told me it was there. And so I'm like, dang, bro, like, what do I do? Because I'm not trying to go to jail. This dude's done prison time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's with some people, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I almost let him die. Like, I was literally about to walk out the house and pretend like I didn't find him, let somebody else find him. So I was like, I am not about to go through all this. And so I paced around for like 2 or 3 minutes. Like, this dude's got the death rattle. He's some points he's not breathing in. Then there's some points where he takes like that real laborious, like wheezing breath. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my God, what do I do, bro? Like, why? And I ended up calling 911, and like I ran his pockets and I pulled a point out from his pocket. Like, I found it and I like tossed it somewhere. I don't know where I tossed it, but I just got rid of it. And they come there, they hit him with like 6 hits of Narcan. He comes to, he's like, oh, I didn't use nothing, bro. You know what I mean? And I'm like, man. And so like we didn't go
tired.
nothing.
I was tired, man. I worked all night.
Man, I'm working, man. Yeah. And you wouldn't understand. And and so like nothing happened. Like, nobody went to jail or anything like that. We both end up getting kicked out. I get kicked out. He goes on and does his thing. I go back to my home, which is Jellicoe, and this guy that I'm like grew up with, best friends, he's now renting on my house with, right? He's like, he's renting my house. I subcontracted my house to him pretty much. And so I get there and there is nothing but just meth everywhere, just meth. And I'm like, oh boy. And meth and guns and just a lot of like just
in your own place, in your old place.
Yeah, in my house, man. I'm like, dang, man. I was like, this is gonna get real bad real quick. And so first thing I did there was cop a gram, and it was off to the races, man. And like the house had been destroyed, bro. The house was destroyed, man. It was so destroyed. And like I'm talking, so like tweaking so much that we don't take the dogs out to like piss or shit, that they go on the floor, and then we sweep it up, and then the dogs walk on it, and then they get on the couch, right? And so they track this feces and this piss on this couch. Well, this couch is the only place I have to lay my head, right?
Damn.
And so I wear the same outfit every time I lay on this couch, and then when I get off it, I take it off. Like that's what it was like.
That's tough, bro.
Yeah, and then I would be, I'd be calling my sponsor and be like, man, like I don't want to get loaded.
Oh, you still have but you still have a relationship with the sponsor.
Yeah,
all this craziness.
I'm still calling him. He called me like, Nate, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm in the house, like getting high, doing a bunch of dumb stuff. You know what I mean? Right. And I'd be calling like, man, I'm like, I don't want to get high, but I'm gonna get high. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
so let's take that period of your life, right, and we'll call that Tennessee Nate. Okay.
Yeah.
So now how does Nate go West Coast?
So
how do you hit the West Side?
So I end up leaving the spot. I go to my aunt's house and was like, hey, like I got to go back to treatment. Like I'm getting loaded right now. I haven't used in like a day. Like I'm not going to die. You don't have to worry. Like I'm going to kick by myself. And so I get my taxes, man, and I pay my admission fee with my taxes, drive myself out to Nashville, like outside of Nashville, like Murfreesboro. Go to Murfreesboro, do like 21 days there. They're like, hey, do you want to go to California? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And
wait a minute, you got your money and drove yourself to treatment. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. In Nashville.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You do 21 days there. Okay.
Yeah. 21 days. They put me on an airplane. I had never been on an airplane before.
Wow.
I didn't know how airports work. I was so lost.
Culture shock, bro.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The town I grew up in was 1,500 people.
Yeah. Wow.
So I get to California, and
now is this do you go into like a transitional living after your time at rehab, and they just like offer you a place to like go to the next step in Cali? Is that how that process works?
So I went to a 6-month IOP is what it was. So it's like they put you in phase 1, which is kind of like residential in a sense, but you're like you're always monitored, always people around you. You know what I'm saying? And then phase 2, like you got to get a job, you got to work, you got to either get a job, volunteer, go to school like part time at least, and do groups and all this stuff like that. So it's a real intensive outpatient. So I do like 4 months in the outpatient. I'm 25 at this time. My insurance terms on my birthday. Okay. And so right before my birthday, I leave. And honestly, I wasn't working a good program, man. I was kind of just walking through the process. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I wasn't really making connections. I get out, I go to this place. I quit taking, they had me on like some medication, not maintenance or anything, just like some psych meds, the kind of like depression meds and stuff like that. So I quit taking them, right? And I get this bright idea. I was like, man, I'm going to microdose. So I went and got so I thought, and I would think that anybody could do this, but I couldn't do this, right? So I went to the store and I got some CBD with like 0.3% THC, right? And I was like, there ain't no way. I'm like, this will fix it. And I ended up losing my mind. I ended up going crazy. And I'll tell you this, I thought.
What do you think that? What was that? Like, what is that? What happened? Like, you just taking that? You just went like through a psychosis or something?
Yeah, no, bro. Like, I just got so anxious and paranoid, and I started like having anxiety attacks, and so I was just having anxiety attacks like 3 and 4 times a day from it. And but my head was telling me I just needed to do more of it and it would go away, and that's just not what happened. And so I'm like going through that. I can't like leave my house. And my now sponsor catches me on the couch and is like, bro, are you good? Like, what's going on? Like, what's really going on? You know what I mean? Just knows. And like I wanted to kill myself, man. Like my thought was to run out in front of the Amtrak train in Carlsbad Village and just be done with it.
Wow, man.
Because I had seen somebody, not seen them do it, but I had seen a body bag there where they were cleaning it up. Because the Amtrak comes through like Carlsbad Village super fast, fast. And so like you're done.
It's
like,
a wrap.
You know what I mean? And it's a wrap. Yeah, it's a wrap. And that's like where the idea came from. And I know that's morbid, but that's just the way I thought. I was like, man, it's fast and easy. Like, you know?
Yeah, man. So you get to that place, then is that what happens that leads you to like a life of like the beginning of your life of recovery?
Yeah. So it was him talking to me, and like in my head, man, I wasn't scared to die. I never got arrested for selling drugs or doing any of that grimy stuff. So I didn't really care about consequences like jail or anything like that. That was whatever. So I wasn't afraid to die, but I was so scared that I would have to get sober, but I would be mentally inept. Like I would just be mentally, and I would, because that's where I was going, bro. Like I couldn't leave my house. You know what I mean? And I was like,
you was gonna have you felt like you're gonna have some serious problems.
Yeah, and that's why like I didn't want to live. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. Wow. Yeah, and I was like, so I was scared of that. That's what ultimately like was the deal, because I was just like, I'm done, dude. Like I can't keep living like this. And so I came clean to my friend, and then I told the guy that ran the sober living, I'm like, hey man, I'm getting loaded. Like this is the deal. So he was like, all right, well, you got to go to 90 and 90. You got to do this and that. And that's what I did. That, and I worked the steps. worked in traditions, you know, got a commitment, went to a bunch of meetings, you know, was just thorough with it.
Yeah. So you took you took a notch up on your seriousness and focus, right? To get through it, trying to absorb it, trying to make it an effort to stay clean. Now, is there, during this process, do you catch like is there a surrendering of your will? Like, are you able to like give it to God and like let His will, you know, start working in your life? Do you feel guided?
No, man, I took it back so quick.
Yeah.
I had probably like 60 days, and I went and moved in with this chick, and then she kicked me out, and I was almost homeless. So that's the answer to your question. Yeah, I still and then I think it was right after that I listened.
You started listening after that, huh?
Yeah.
After the girl booted you out, the Lord started looking good, right?
Yeah. I was like, I should probably listen now because I really don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, she took the car. She kicked me out of the house. I was almost on the streets. I was like, I should probably take some suggestions.
Right.
And and then after that, like I got real serious. I was like, I just focused on recovery. You know what I mean? Like left the girls alone. I was like, okay, I got to do this for real.
Well, when did recovery, like, you know, when does it go to this place where it's like, okay, now this is going to be my lifestyle. I'm going to start serving. I'm going to start giving back. I'm going to start helping. Like when does that take place in your life?
The Narcan, talking about like the Narcan thing?
Yeah, like, you know, all the service that you're doing right now. I mean, you're making moves right now, all to help people in addiction. So where does that heart? Because that has to be somewhere from your heart to like want to do that. You know what I mean?
So so it's crazy, right? So I got a recording on my phone. It was like, I can't even think of the app, but it's like a podcast app actually. So I'm like, that's when I started getting into podcasts. Like this is like 2019. And so I record myself talking about it, right? So I'm literally speaking into existence what I'm doing right now. And it's crazy to hear it. So I'm talking about like doing Narcan distribution and doing hygiene products and doing this or that. And so I literally spoke my current life into existence.
Spoke it into fruition, right?
Yeah. And you know, I had seen people like doing harm reduction and stuff like that, and it really interests me because I was like, man, this is great. Like, you know what I mean? And so I just wanted to give back. I didn't want people to have my family's experience or to have my experience or to be in my shoes and not know what to do or make a decision. And ultimately, I thought education and like access to services would save a lot of lives. Because in 2018, I lost 16 or 18 friends to like opiate overdose.
Damn.
And so that's when it like really hit me, because I was like, and I realized like how the system was just like screwing us. You know what I mean? Like not having access, you know, and like the Good Samaritan law, man, because I almost let a dude die because of just because of punitive measures, you know what I mean? And like, and a lot of people, like, they don't even realize the reality of the opioid addiction, of opioids. Like, you don't have to be a drug addict to die today. Like, you don't have to be a drug addict.
You can just come across it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And you know, and I realized that, like, you know, in order to like really see changes, like this is what's going to have to be done, because this is the direction that it's going.
No doubt.
And so instead of just thinking about it or just like, oh, I wish I could do something, like I just took action. And so what that action looked like is I sent emails for like 6 months trying to connect with people. And eventually I connected with people. Yeah. And then they brought me on and they like give me a little bit of a rope. Mm-hmm. And then after a while, they gave me a lot of rope and just turned me loose. Like, hey, we want you to do all these trainings up here. This is yours.
Wow. Opportunity.
Yeah.
Now,
I just kept showing up.
Let me pause here for a second. Christian, do you want to go into another advertisement? I'm not sure how. I know we're running kind of deep.
Let's go to that and then wrap.
All right. We'll be right back, Nate. To finish this up, we'll go to a conclusion after these messages, folks.
Montana Society, an inspiring docuseries about a group of addicts who endeavor to repurpose an underground nuclear bunker in Paradise Valley, Montana. Along the way, they learn to work together under the wild leadership of Dean, a financial guru and outdoorsman who has his money on the line. In the end, Will they learn to repurpose their pain and the bunker into something new and wonderful? Find out on this season of the Montana Society.
All right, folks, welcome back. Welcome back. So now, we heard some of my man Narcan Nate's journey, and the struggles and how he got through it and what he's doing today. So to conclude this, I just want to ask you, Nate, how are you feeling today?
I feel great, honestly.
How are you feeling about the work you're doing and the service that you're giving to Southern California and beyond, it seems like?
I feel like it's my purpose. I know without a doubt that it's my purpose. This is what I'm meant for.
Awesome.
Not a doubt, ever.
That is great, dude. Listen, I want to thank you, bro, for sharing a piece of yourself with the people and meeting us and giving us this inspiration and thank you for all you're doing out in Cali, but and beyond, like I said. But I want to end this, because hopefully, this interaction between you and I on this show, somebody's listening that needs to hear your story, right? Somebody doesn't know, they're on the fence about using and they're on the fence about stopping. They don't know what sobriety is, so, what would you say to somebody just having the thought of to stop using drugs? You know what I mean? Do something about their addiction. What words do you have for that person?
I would say, ultimately that you're the one that's going to give you the life that you want, right? Mm-hmm. And if I took the same tenacity and the ferociousness that I chase the drugs or the alcohol, and I took that energy and turned it around into getting sober and bettering my life, the possibilities would be absolutely endless.
Wow, man. Bro, again, thank you so much, Nate, man. It was an honor having you on. People, this is what happens on the Most High Show. Somebody brings their honesty, puts it on the table for you to listen to, for you to get, for you to relate to it. You know what I'm saying? Because, Nate's story is his unique story, but I know so many of us relate to the tough times, the struggles that he's went through, being the innocent struggle that he went through, getting to rehab, relapsing, living crazy, not caring, being mad, and still being able to get to a place in his life where real recovery is happening and service is happening, and he's giving back to the people that were like he was at one time, man. And that's what this is all about. So on behalf of the Most High Show, again, folks, listen, the merch, the app, these things are essential in recovery, bro. This is what we do here, man. We think it's important for people to hear stories, to see people in recovery, to see people struggling in addiction, to ending the stigma, to giving it to God, you guys. So please, bro, tune in the app, download the app, get some merch, and check out the next episode of the Most High Show. Peace. Thank you, my man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, man. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you.
Bro,